All right, Algebra 1A students, welcome to part 2 of lesson 3.6. We're talking again about compound inequalities. In our last video, we talked about compound inequalities connected with the word and. In this video, we're talking about compound inequalities connected with the word or. Okay? Now, when we had inequalities with the word and, remember we had two endpoints and the graph was in between those two endpoints? Or is exactly the opposite. We have two endpoints and the graph goes forever in either direction. Okay, because there is no overlap in these graphs. There's no overlap in these two inequalities. So you basically have two options. Either x can be less than -2 in this example, or x can be greater than or equal to +1. So greater than 1 would go this way, less than -2 would go that way. So all of those numbers work, all of these numbers work. It's the numbers in between that actually don't work for inequalities combined with the word or. If we see in words the phrase all real numbers that are less than 0 or greater than or equal to 5, we should see two pieces. I see one where I've got all real numbers x that are less than 0. Less than 0 is the first piece. And then I have another piece where instead of being less than 0, my numbers could also be greater than or equal to 5. Okay? Less than 0 or greater than or equal to 5. So I just write those two inequalities here next to each other and connect them with the word or in between. X is less than 0 or x is greater than or equal to 5. And obviously I can graph those as well. It's two endpoints, just like graphing two separate inequalities. X less than 0 would be an open circle because it's less than, goes down. Greater than or equal to 5 would be a closed dot, which goes up. Okay? So we should be able to write or inequalities from a sentence and graph them as well. Okay? The other thing that we will have to do in our practice problems tomorrow is to solve compound inequalities that involve or. So we're given this example. What are the solutions of 3t plus 2 is less than -7, or -4t plus 5 is less than 1? Well, this is like two different problems at once. Okay, it's like two different problems at once. One of those problems is 3t plus 2 is less than -7. The other is -4t plus 5 is less than 1. And the word or is in between. So all I'm doing here is I'm solving this inequality on the left, and I'm solving this inequality on the right. To solve the inequality on the left, I subtract 2 from both sides. I get 3t is less than -9. And then I divide by 3 and I get that t is less than -3. Okay, on the right hand side, I have to solve this equation for t, or this inequality, excuse me. First thing I'm going to do is -5 on both sides. I get -4t is less than -4. -4t is less than -4. Divide each side by -4 to get the t gone, or sorry, the t all by itself. And I get t is, now because I divided here by a -4, remember what has to happen to my sign. I have to flip it around. Instead of saying less than, because I divided by a -4, I have to flip it and say greater than. -4 divided by -4 is 1. So I have two options. Either t is less than -3 or t is greater than 1. And that's something I can graph on a number line. Right? Put -3 here, -2, -1, 0, 1, right there. Both of these pieces should have open circles because neither one of them had an equal to line. So there's an open circle at -3. There's an open circle at 1. Now, because this is an OR inequality, I should go this way from -3 because I want t to be less than -3. And I should go this way from the +1 because I want t to be greater than 1. So this is the graph of t less than -3 or t greater than +1. Okay? And now one I'd like you to try on your own. It says, what are the solutions of -2y plus 7 is less than 1 or 4y plus 3 is less than or equal to -5? Take a look at those two inequalities, I guess, separately, then graph them together on one as a compound inequality with the word or. When you finish that in a couple minutes, come on back and I'll show you what we should have. The one on the left, the -2y plus 7 is less than 1, when we solve that, should end up saying y is greater than 3. One on the right, when we solve, should end up saying y is less than or equal to -2. And of course, when we graph, (3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2). Open circle at the +3, closed circle at the -2. I should go forever in each direction because it's greater than 3, which means up, and it's less than or equal to -2, which means down. All right. If you have questions about writing or solving compound inequalities connected by the word or, please make a note to ask me in class tomorrow. Otherwise, that's all I have for you. Have a wonderful night.